Hi everybody, this is our third lecture. We're going to consider now the transition between phonetics and phonology through a concrete example that we are going to see here through this lecture. First of all, I just need to remind you of the last points we mentioned about vowels, the vowels of English. You remember that we talked about the vowels of English, and we have tried to locate them, in that figure. We talked about some vowels being front, the ones in here, and vowels being back, in this region here. Vowels that are produced in this area are called close or high vowels, as opposed to vowels which are at the bottom. They are called open or low vowels. And we have got vowels that are in between. They are called intermediate vowels here. Okay. Now we can talk about another factor that we can take into account if we want to describe from a phonetic point of view the vowels of English and the vowels of all languages, by the way. It's the shape of the lips. Now if you produce E, this one in here, E, you notice that your lips are being spread, as opposed to the production or articulation of U. You notice that your lips are rounded. So by means of the shape of the lips that you maintain in the production of any vowel, you can describe the vowel as being rounded, like U, because it is produced by rounding our lips. Or we can, the vowel can be called, unrounded, because our lips are being spread in the production of the vowel, and this is the case of E. Notice E, U is something that you can see clearly when you pronounce them simultaneously, one after the other. You say E, U. Okay, so we have got some vowels that are rounded, like in this one, O, O. Here it's rounded. This one also O, it's rounded. This one is unrounded, E, E. A, these vowels in here, beginning from A to A to E, E, all these vowels are unrounded, as opposed to these ones in here. They are rounded, because these ones are being produced by rounding our lips, and these ones are being produced by spreading our lips in here. Okay. Of course, as I said, you see that there is a certain pattern. 5 back vowels. Okay, 5 back vowels as opposed to 5 front vowels. 2 high that are front, 2 high that are back. 2 mid vowels that are front, 2 mid vowels that are back, and 1 is low, okay, front, and 1 is low, back. There is a certain symmetry in the pattern of vowels in English here. Okay, look at them in here. Okay, remember that we talked about A as in cut, and okay, in the first vowel of about, about here. Remember what we said about diphthongs. Now let's talk about this case that we call biding and biting. For some people, something is going on with at least one of these diphthongs. In biting, biting, there is a slight difference in the pronunciation of the diphthong there. In biting and biding, what's this difference? Some people have this one. This diphthong that exists in light, it's not just light, it's light. They make it a little bit more tense, stronger, light, tight, sight, life, knife, lice, dice. As opposed to this, look, it's more or less this, we think it's more or less the same diphthong here and here. But this one seems to be lighter. This one is lied, tied, side, live, knives, lies, die. Okay, so dies here, dies. So dice, dies, lice, lies. So according to some native speakers of English, there is a slight difference in the production of the diphthong that we have got in here and in here. Look, in this word it is light. In this word it is light. Now what makes the difference in pronunciation of the same diphthong in light and in light, in tight and tide, in sight and sight, and the other couples of words? Life, live. What makes this difference? What makes these people pronounce the diphthong in here as I and the diphthong in here as I? This is what we're going to answer. Now look, in the first words, the diphthong is followed by t, by f, by s in here. We know from a phonetic point of view that these sounds share some phonetic features. Now you know the three, I need to just remind you of the three criteria by means of which we can describe consonants. Remember, place, manner, and voice. Now try to remember those three criteria and see what t, f, s have got in common as common phonetic feature. Now let's go to the other, list of words that contains the same diphthong, I. At the end of these words, we notice here we have got d. Here we have got v and z and z. Look at the following sound just immediately after the diphthong. And look in here. So is there any difference or any similarity? We notice in fact that the sounds in the first words following the diphthong are all of them voiceless. T, f, voiceless, s. So remember, voice is one of the criteria by means of which we can describe sound. Now let's go to the other list of words, including I as a diphthong. All the consonants following that I are all of them, so d, v, z are all of them voiced, voice. So what makes the difference in the pronunciation of the same diphthong in these words is the following consonant. Here we have got voiceless consonants, here we have got voiced consonants. Now, which means these speakers have a rule, they have got a rule in their mind, and that they make use of unconsciously. The rule says, before a voiceless consonant, this diphthong I becomes I, is pronounced I, is realized I. This is the rule that they have got in their mind, and they make use of it unconsciously in the pronunciation of words that contain voiceless sounds after I here. Automatically for them it is pronounced as I. Look, we are trying to explain what the native speaker of English knows about his language. At the level of phonology now, how he pronounces the different sounds in different phonetic environments. Look, the diphthong I, here it is I, because in this, in the native speaker's knowledge in here, he knows that S is voiceless. F is voiceless. T is voiceless. All of them voiceless. Therefore, they make him pronounce that I as in here. At the same time, okay, when we reverse the rule, the I becomes voiced when it is followed by this one, z, d, and the others. Okay. So look, this is a very brief way of describing the rule. This I is pronounced as I when it is followed by something which is voiced, by a consonant which is voiced. D. It becomes I when it is followed by T. Okay? Now, it seems in here what makes the difference between light and lied is that this one has got T in here, or T, and this one has got D in here. So it's only the difference in the final position of both words that makes the difference in meaning between them. Therefore, this T and D are called phonemes. Look, we have got the same, more or less the same pronunciation. Both words contain more or less the same sound, except one in the same position. T here in the end, and D in the end here. These two sounds, which make the difference between the words in meaning, and they are found in the same position, are called phonemes. So phonemes are the sounds you store in your head, in your mind, let's say in your mind here. Now, when the phoneme is being pronounced differently, those different pronunciations, or what we call realizations, are called phones. For example, we have got a phoneme in our mind I, but it is pronounced as I when it is followed by T. It is pronounced as I when it is followed by D. So these two sounds are just phones or allophones of the same phoneme. So they are the sounds that you actually produce. They are the sounds that we are actually produce. Okay? So we know first of all in both light and lied there is a diphthong that we pronounce as I. But this I is pronounced in different way when it is followed by a voiceless sound, and it is pronounced in another way when it is pronounced followed by a voice sound here. Once again, this is what we have just explained. We have got one phoneme, this one is I. This is what is stored in the mind of the native speaker. But this I is being pronounced in different ways according to the place where it is found. By place, I mean the phonetic environment where it is found. It can be pronounced as I, followed by voiceless sounds. It can be followed by I when it is followed by voiced sounds here. So we call the phones allophones. These are the allophones, this one and this one. These are the allophones of the phoneme. So, in some dialects of English, the phoneme I has two allophones, I and I. And the allophone I occurs whenever the phoneme precedes a voiceless sound. When I say the allophone I occurs whenever the phoneme precedes a voiceless sound, I'm just specifying for you the phonetic environment where I is found. And when it is found in this phonetic environment, in this place, in this position, it is pronounced as I. Here we are just trying to describe, and once again, I'm going to just repeat the same point. We are describing what native speakers know about as rules about their language. how to pronounce the different sounds in their language according to the different phonetic environments. So this is another way of showing the rule. This is the phoneme. This is what is being stored as a sound in the native speaker's mind. I. This phoneme becomes or is pronounced as or is realized as I. This is the allophone. In what context? The slash shows the context where this I is found. When it is found, this is its place. When it is found before voiceless, minus voice, voiceless sound. Remember, for example, the word light. Light. The diphthong in light, it is pronounced as I, because in light we have got the diphthong. This is its place here. The diphthong is found before the voiceless sound, which is t, light. Here. So this is a formulation of the rule. This is the job of phonology. Phonology shows us how rules can govern, can determine our pronunciations of the different phonemes in our language. Okay, so this is the rule. The diphthong I becomes or is pronounced or is realized as I in the context. This is the place where we find the diphthong, followed by minus voice. That is a voiceless sound. Look, this is another way of showing the rule. This is what is stored as a sound in the native speaker's mind. This is what we call the phoneme. And this phoneme has got two phones or allophones. It can be pronounced as I or I. These are the two realizations, this one and this one. So the two realizations, they are the sounds that are actually produced, or allophones. Another way of showing the rule is this one. And it's not the same rule, but we are talking about another rule here, by the way. Another phonological rule. Look, t becomes d when, in this context, when it is surrounded by two vowels. This is the place of t. When it is found between two vowels, it becomes d. Look, let's look at some examples of words to explain this rule. This is another phonological rule that exists in English, by the way. It shows us how native speakers of English, of course, pronounce some words. And it gives us, this, rule in terms of this kind of formula here. Now let's look at these examples. Sit, sit. This is the phonetic transcription of it. Sitter. Normally, for some speakers, it's sitter. Heat, heat. For some native speakers, it can be pronounced as heater, but for some others, it's heater. At. Normally, it's attic, but for some native speakers, attic. Now, the question is that why do some native speakers pronounce t as d? Why do they realize it as d? Which means in their mind there is the sound st that exists as a phoneme. But this phoneme can be pronounced in different ways. Sometimes it can be pronounced as d. What allows them to pronounce this t as d? This is what we have to explain. Look, another example, another set of words. Look, attack, to attack. Is it possible to pronounce it as adak? And notice here, we have got here a vowel, a, and we have got another vowel. And between the two vowels, we have got t. Now, is it possible to say adak? Of course not. But still, if we go back to the rule, what does it say? It says that t can be pronounced, can become D in the context when it is between two vowels. This is its place, but it is surrounded by two vowels. In this context, it becomes D. But here, this is what we have got as a description of the rule. We have got a vowel and another vowel, and between them we have got T. But it is impossible to pronounce this as a DAG. Now, we need to reconsider our rule. Same thing in here. Is it possible to say a down because T is placed between two vowels? No, we have to say a tone. Same thing in here. Is it possible to say determine? No, we have just to say determine. Same thing, detect. It cannot be detect. So, the rule says T when it is between two vowels, here, here, here. Normally, for some native speakers, it can be pronounced, it can become D. But here, for all native speakers, it can never become D. So what's the problem? This is what we're going to see. Look, we have sitter, hitter, attic, but here we say attack, atone, detect. What's the difference here between this one and this one? Between this one and this one? Between this one and this one? You notice that here this symbolizes stress. This is stress. We say attack. We don't say attack. We say attack, atone, detect. So it seems that the syllable just after T is being stressed. Now, what is the place of stress here in these three words? It's before T. So, when the syllable is before, okay, the T can become D. Sitter, hitter, attic. But when it's the second syllable, the syllable after it, which is stressed, normally we cannot say a DAC, we cannot say a down, we cannot say detect. So here we have got the rule that can be changed. T can become D only when it belongs to a stressed syllable. That is, the vowel before it is stressed, not the vowel after it. So here we have got a complete picture of this rule in English. In English it's possible to pronounce T as D in the context when it is between two vowels, but it's the first vowel which is stressed. So here once again, this is what the native speaker knows. T, the phoneme which is stored in the brain, or let's say in the mind of the native speaker, it can be pronounced as D or T, depending on the phonetic environment in which it is found here. So what do you have in your head? You have got the phonemes, the sounds, T, F, P, sounds or phonemes. But these sounds or phonemes can be pronounced in different ways according to the places where they are found. And this is what we describe through phonological rules. These are the rules. These rules determine for us the pronunciation of these phonemes in different phonetic environments. For example, in our mind we have got T here. This T can be pronounced according to different rules. It can be pronounced as D or T according to the rules we saw before. Okay. So in fact, we have just introduced the new chapter that is entitled phonology. So phonology deals with